Hi everyone, it's Reenal. I hope everyone's having a lovely Saturday morning. It's nice to see so many people joining already. So, as I mentioned, I'm Reenal. I'm currently an intern on the Dattva program. So my role at the moment is as a journalist. So there's quite a few projects going on. So there's quite a lot of overlap. So I've been working on a few marketing bits and also getting involved with some video content creation. So that's been really exciting. So before this, I did my placement year at Xerox, and I will be going to finish my final year at Aston University, and I'm studying economics and management. So looking forward to that as well. But more so, I'm excited to be here today on the live with everyone. We'll be joined by Tejal Pankhania shortly. So for those of you who don't know Tejal, she is a dentist by profession and she qualified to be a yoga teacher a few years ago. So it's fair to say that she didn't simply do the qualification just for the certificate. She rigorously practices yoga, and sometimes this may be at 5 a.m. I think the main conversation for today will be, we've seen a few posts on Instagram go viral, and it's mainly been about the decolonization of yoga, and we feel like this sparked some controversy in our network because we feel like they're not talking about the decolonization of yoga properly, and this is something I think Tejal can share her thoughts on, and it'll be really interesting to get her views on this. She's actually also written an ebook called 21st Century Yoga and Cultural Misappropriation, so it'll be nice to get some insights on this as well. I also wanted to say, if anybody has any questions, please leave them on the comment box below. So it'll be really good to answer everyone's questions. So let's see if Tejal's here, we can let her in. She should be here soon. Hi Tejal, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Rin. How are you?
Yeah, good. How's your morning been?
Been good. A classic Saturday morning. Had a bit of a lie-in today. About 6:30. Had my hot water and then started with my practice. And then it was actually cut a little bit short today. I had a cigar class and then I stopped that. Had some of Mars Chai. That's always a good start to the day.
Of course.
And yeah, here we are. And it's my first Instagram live as well. So bear with me, guys.
No problem. And how long was your yoga session this morning?
This morning wasn't as long as I'd anticipated. I'd like to do a slightly longer practice on the weekends, but this morning was half an hour. And I think that the Surya Namaskar has worked because it's a pretty beautiful day outside, you know?
Yeah, it sure is. And do you try and do a yoga session every morning, like before work?
I try to do an asana session in the morning with some breathing and some pranayam, and then I try to do some meditation before I sleep at night. And yeah, just try to stay mindful during the day, and that's how I try to implement it in my day. It's not always the easiest thing, but I think one of the obstacles of something like yoga is that we can sometimes deprioritize it, and we sometimes think of it as, we put it on the back burner and think, oh, if I have time, I'll do it. But it's more making it an essential part of daily practice.
Yeah, I think especially in a time like this where, everyone's working at home, everyone's glued to their desk. So it's important to get those, 15, 20 minutes to yourself, because it is some me time to, just slow down, relax, and just have some time to yourself, I think.
100%. And I think the word like me time is so essential. It is about going within and kind of allowing yourself to be with you. And I feel like it's a part of my day that actually contributes to how well the other parts of my day go, how work goes, how my music practice goes, how everything else goes, really. Kind of helps determine that.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So I think before we get into the grips of things, when people mention the word yoga, I think an image comes to most people's head, and it's of this sadhu sitting in the midst of the mountains, draped in orange clothing, chanting Om for hours on end. And I think that's not, the image that we want to give to people. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that yoga isn't just simply that. So would you like to tell everyone on the live today what yoga actually is and what it means to you?
I'm glad you asked that. I think it's important, and I'm sure that my mentor, well, when I was on the program, my mentor Rishi, he would agree. The definitions are key. I think that the word yog originates from the word yuj in Sanskrit, which means to unite, or a union of. And in this aspect, it's the union of consciousness. So our consciousness to the supreme consciousness, or to this higher entity, to this infinite consciousness, that we are all part of. And I think that is the practice, and I emphasize the word practice of yoga in this, is that yoga is that union of you with your true self, with the higher self. But also in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, yoga is defined as yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. Chitta meaning mind, vritti meaning waves, and nirodha meaning to restrain. So it's a restraint of the fluctuations of the mind. The goal is to obtain that ultimate, that stillness, that clarity, that mental stillness. So that's yoga. And I'm glad that you said that people sometimes see yoga, when you think of yoga or a yogi, you think of, Swamiji in his orange clothes sitting on the mountains. But actually, I think it's changed slightly because now when we think of yoga, we think of these, designer branded clothes, and water bottles and yoga mats and a class somewhere really nice with some incense sticks and some calming music. And that's what yoga has become. That's what yoga has been misinterpreted as recently. So I'm glad that you asked me the definitions of it, because people should know the definition is in line with the ultimate purpose of yoga.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's fair to say that when you were slightly younger, your parents were greatly involved in yoga. And I know for sure that, the yoga channel was playing every morning on the TV.
Morning, all day.
Yeah, so it was just playing on the TV, and I'm sure this had a small effect on you. But would you like to tell us when you first started practicing yoga, and how it became more of a lifestyle change for you?
Yeah, for sure. So actually, I was exposed to yoga the first time when Swami Ramdevji came into, I'm going to say, everyone's lives. I was about 14, 15 at the time. My siblings they were both at uni, so it was me, mum and dad at home, and all that was playing on the TV was Astha, and it was Swami Ramdevji on 24/7, and my parents really got into it, and it has benefited them in multiple. They're completely different. They changed as people completely, mentally, physically. But at that point, obviously they saw the benefits of it, but I was a rebellious 14, 15-year-old, and as much as they forced it on me, I just didn't want to do it. And the more they forced it on me, the more I didn't want to do it, the more I said no. And then in that time as well, my mum went to Rishikesh and she did her yoga teacher training, and I was intrigued, but again, I was still not inclined to do it myself. Anyway, they pushed and they pushed and they pushed, and one day they just gave up and they were like, leave it, it's fine, we'll just let her be. And maybe they didn't realize that this would have an effect, but it did. And one morning I sat down before school. I was doing my GCSEs at the time, and I sat down before school and I sat down for just 5 minutes of pranayam. And I had such a good day at school. I was focused, I was engaged, and I'd always been a little bit of a distracted child. I was a daydreamer. I never really focused. I could have focused a lot more. But this one day I focused. I felt good. I felt engaged, and I loved school. It was great. It was a great day. Anyway, so I tried it the next day. To see, it was kind of like an experiment. Was it the yoga? Was it that I'd had good sleep? Was it? Well, it could have been various factors. yeah, and then I had another good day at school, and then slowly increased that 5 minutes to 7 minutes to 10 minutes to 20 minutes, and I got through my GCSEs, and then that was probably when it initiated. Then I started asking my mum for tips and my dad for tips, and then seeing, like, joining their practice, and then through my A levels, I really kept quite a strict practice. But I think the important message in this was that it was more so that I wanted to do it. I felt like I wasn't forced into doing it, and that's probably like what most people are like. No one likes to be forced into doing anything, and when it is forced, then it's not done in with the correct, not the correct, but like the true. It's just not probably not. It's not done heartfully, right? So I actually did it with quite a passion, and I maintained my practice during my A levels. I remained really, really focused, and but that practice was mainly pranayam. I've always been a really active kind of kid, and just growing up, I did a lot of exercise. I did karate. I did everything, you name it, and I wanted to do it. And my mum would probably argue now and say that nothing has changed. But yeah, so the asana side of it, the exercise side of it, I got from other means. So it was more the pranayam, the meditation. That's what I got into. And then I went into uni and I continued it. And uni, like it is for many people, was quite a strenuous time mentally, because it was quite demanding. But I felt like this kept me at bay. I'm not going to say I suffered from anxiety, but I think that through pressured times, you can sometimes feel anxious. But I felt like this was my escape. This was my, okay, I had my routine. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd do my pranayama and I'd do my meditation before bed. And it was like checkpoints during the day. And that kept me like quite stable. And then through that time, I was thinking about doing a yoga teacher training. So, and I pondered on it for many years, and now maybe giving away my age a little bit. But it'd been 10 years. It's been 10 years, over 10 years since I've been practicing. So in that time, I pondered about doing yoga teacher training, and it wasn't to teach. It was more for myself, for my personal understanding, because I wanted to know what I was doing. I wanted to know why this posture, or, why this posture had the benefits of it, why, how pranayam works, the science behind it, the brand, the channels that we have in our body, the doshas. And I've always also been a lot quite into Ayurveda as well. So I wanted to learn more about it. I wanted a greater understanding so my practice could become deeper. So I thought about it for a long time, and I finally, I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to do so. I had the opportunity to do so last year, maybe the year before. It was last year, and I went to the Bahamas and I did it with the Shivananda organization. So it was very classical, traditional Hatha yoga. And I think on here, Raghav has asked, what is pranayam? Pranayam is the breathing element of yoga, and it is balancing. So you have ha and ta, ha meaning sun, ta meaning moon, and it's a balancing between the two. And that is the aim of yoga, is to balance, to be one, and yeah, to stay balanced and clear constantly. So yeah, that was my journey. And
yeah, no, that's amazing. I think the important part of that is how you weren't forced to do it, and it came from within, which made you feel more curious and explore like different aspects of it. And I'm glad Raghav asked that, actually, because I was actually going to touch up on the different forms of yoga, because I think you mentioned the asana and the breathing. So just to clarify for everyone on the live, what are the different forms of yoga?
Okay, so actually I'm going to start off slightly differently with the evolution of yoga. Yoga has evolved so much over time, and it started off with Vedic yoga, and then it went into pre-classical yoga, and that's mentioned in the Upanishads, and then that went on to classical yoga, which is more the Patanjali Sutras, Yoga Sutras, and then that goes on to modern day 21st century yoga. And it's the classical yoga that I'm going to focus on slightly more. So that's Raj Yoga, and it has 8 limbs. The way I see it is a little bit like a ladder. So what are the steps of the ladder? To get to the top, you need to climb. You can't skip a step, or you can be a little bit dangerous. But you need to climb all the steps in order to get to the top. And it's a holistic view. So yoga is not just asanas. And that's exactly what Raj Yoga kind of delves into a little bit more, that it's these 8 limbs of yoga. And the 8 limbs being yamas, niyamas. You've got your asana, your pranayam, you've got your pratyahara, your dharana, dhyana, and ultimately you've got samadhi, right? So that is important, because right now at the moment we see yoga as asanas, we see it as exercises, we see it as stretches, but it's not. Asanas are one aspect of yoga as a whole, and it's not like there are different types of yoga. That yoga is yoga. Yoga is to unite. Yoga is balance. Yoga is to obtain that stillness. But we use these different elements in order to obtain that goal, right? And we do, and a lot, they go hand in hand, because in order to, for example, we do asanas, right? And we do different postures, have different benefits, and are there for different reasons. But actually you need to do them as a whole, and which is something that, which is one of the main reasons I chose Shivananda Yoga to do my teacher training, is because it was very much you have your basic 12 steps of Shivananda Yoga, and if you do those 12, you're working your whole body, and therefore you're reaping the benefits for your whole body. But then the aim of that is so that you can sit in meditation for numerous hours, right? The aim of all of it is just so that you can sit in dhyan, yeah? And so, yeah, it's important. I'm glad that you asked what the different parts are of yoga. They should be practiced all as one. And I think it's really important also to say that yoga isn't done on the mat, okay? You don't only do your practice on the mat. You do your practice constantly. You do your practice when you're brushing your teeth. You practice when you're eating your breakfast. You practice when you're playing sitar. You're practicing when you're doing your hair. You're practicing constantly, because it's that awareness. It's that consciousness. Yeah, it's that breath that you take, and realizing how precious it is, and therefore to optimize that breath. It's that when you're in that asana and you're struggling slightly, and I remember it doesn't come easy, and that's why it's a practice. It's something that you have to do every day or very regularly in order for it to develop and to grow. Now I remember there was I was once doing Padahastasana, which is also when you take your hands to your feet, and I remember my teacher at that point saying, okay, now relax, enjoy it. How do you relax in this pose? I don't know how to relax in this pose. And he'd say, okay, go in, just go in, engage in it. And with every exhale, go slightly deeper. And slowly, I started enjoying it. And I started going deeper. And I was mindful that my muscles are working in this area. They're getting oxygen with every breath, and therefore they're allowed to work with more power. And slowly I'd go into it, and then I'd see my body changing, and I'd feel my body changing. Wow, okay, fine. But it was that you're in dhyan at that time. You're breathing at that time, so you're exercising pranayam. You're trying not to get angry. You're trying not to get irritated. You're trying to stay positive. You're trying to stay just, and you're listening to your body, and that's such an important part of it, because your body will be different every day. Your every practice will be different, and it's that reflection, it's that being aware, it's being aware that it's just be with it, let it do what it's doing, you know. And every day your practice will be different. Today I was able to hold my Shirshasana, or my headstand, for a certain amount of time, but I know that there have been points where every time I try it I fall. That's okay, you know. And it's not to be mad at my body, it's just that day my body wasn't okay with it, and so the next day you try again. Perseverance is also such a huge part of it.